Hey guys! Welcome to another episode of PhD Journey with May. Today, I want to talk to you about the process I'm currently in now, which is right before my proposal defense, and I'm in preparation to submit my thesis. And this is then the very tedious work of proofreading. Okay, so if anyone who has ever written a thesis or a book and all, you know how tedious a proofreading process is, and we're talking about 200 over pages of academic writing. So I am personally struggling with it, to be honest, mainly because I didn't think that I prepped enough time for it. So therefore, I thought today I'll be sharing the important process of preparing for proofreading and then the actual proofreading tips that I've learned throughout my 1 month journey. Yeah, so here goes. So first and foremost, I think what is really important here is to leave enough time for proofreading. As I've mentioned just now, my biggest mistake is I didn't estimate enough time that was needed for proofreading. So now I'm panicking a little bit. I'm even getting my parents, my mom and dad, to try and do proofreading on my academic writing. That's how desperate I am, okay, to get more people to cast another look at it, because I'm really running out of time for proofreading. So be prepared, leave more time for proofreading, get prepared, knowing how much the scope of the proofreading is needed is very important. I was only preparing in terms of number of pages that I think I needed to proofread, and I estimate how many minutes I need per page, but that is not enough. We have to prepare exactly what we want to proofread: grammar, checking of facts, spelling, and although there's softwares and even Word automates it, we still need to read through to ensure that there's no blind spots. And then of course proofreading the bigger issues like paragraphs that's not coherent, missing parts of a certain theory, for example. So those are very important. So prepare a lot of time for proofreading. That's the main tip that I can give. So once we start the proofreading process, what I do and what I've learned from my research on the internet about proofreading is first to check our formatting. So I think formatting itself, I'm using APA. My university enforces that format. So I'm using APA, and I need to make sure that the formatting, I understand what APA is first, and then once I understand it, the formatting is aligned with APA recommendation. And I have to check for consistency. I have a very bad habit of using past tense, present tense, because I cut and paste a lot of the points from different papers that I read as well to help me structure a storyline. Then I will rewrite from there. So oftentimes the past tense, present tense are all jumbled up, cluttered in my head. So that was one, I wouldn't say mistake, but if I have to do it again, I will still do the same way, but I just have to be more mindful about it. Consistency in past tense, present tense, consistency in also my capital letters, how I cite my sources. And of course I use a lot of tools, things like via writing, cite it in, even Word document actually helps, but I use more tools to help me as well. And another tip that I've learned is really to take breaks. So I think the last episode I shared with you about the Pomodoro technique. So it really helps, because proofreading is so tedious. It can be also boring because it's a section that you're reading again and again, and you're looking out for different things. So if you don't take breaks, you're wasting the time because you miss the same mistakes again and again. So this happened to me last 2 months when I first started the proofreading journey. I realized that the same sections that I've seen before, I still can find mistakes when I glance through that section again. So that freaked me out, because I have to check my entire paper again to make sure that I'm very thorough about it. Then I realized, why did I miss out information like this, or mistakes that I should have caught earlier? I realized that because I wasn't taking break before. I was just on crunch time, and I was just flipping through pages and all. But I realized that now taking breaks is very important. With the Pomodoro technique, once I take breaks, I'm sharper, more alert, and I caught more mistakes. And if I were to reread that section, I realized that I can't find any more mistakes, and I'm satisfied with it by then. So other tips is to read aloud. So sometimes when I'm just tired and I cannot focus, so I will just walk around and I will read aloud, and so that I can hear those sentences again in my head and make sure that it makes sense. Because proofreading is not just about things that Word document can catch. It's not just grammar or spelling and all that. It's also coherency of the sentences and coherency of the storyline that I'm trying to put forth. So reading aloud helps me, but only to a certain extent, because after a while it became quite robotic and routinary that I have to go back to reading. So I shuffle them. And another tip is to print out, but I'm trying really hard to save paper, but my dad tells me that he's printing out, so he is doing a manual proofreading. So I used to print out, but now because it's 200 over pages, I really don't want to waste paper and harm the environment. So I'm trying very hard to just not print out unless there's a certain section that I really cannot focus if I look at the screen. Lastly, of course, is plagiarism. So this part is difficult because although there's no intention at all to plagiarize, whatever that I have copied from other sites are just for me to form a storyline so that I understand the point I'm saying. But big areas like using popular theories, popular models, there's so many people who have cited it, so it's very hard to run from plagiarism, especially when the name and the way to describe that particular theory is always described in the same manner. That's just how it is, right? So checking for plagiarism is one of the very tedious things to do. There is a lot of websites out there that allows us to input less than 1,000 words and check for the plagiarism of that part. So I'm using that a lot. So yeah, I'm going through this very tedious process now of proofreading and checking for my plagiarism and ensure that when I submit to my supervisors this round, it should be minimal comments hopefully, and I can proceed to proposal defense. So that's all for PhD journey with me today. I hope you have learned a little bit more about the process of proofreading, especially preparation towards proofreading, and also how to avoid mistakes from proofreading itself. Okay, so I'll see you in another episode of PhD Journey with me.